Look closely at these ancient maps, because what you're about to see isn't fiction. It's documented history that slowly disappeared. Entire African cities, once recorded in detail, later faded into blank spaces. Not because they vanished in reality, but because the story around them changed. And before we go deeper, follow this page right now, because what you're about to uncover isn't taught in most classrooms, and the deeper we go, the more it will change how you see history itself. In the 1500s, when Portuguese explorers first arrived along the western coast of Central Africa, they weren't stepping into an empty wilderness. They were entering a powerful, organized kingdom known as the Kingdom of Kongo. This was not a scattered group of villages. It was a structured state with leadership, trade networks, diplomacy, and most importantly, cities. At the center of this kingdom stood a capital, Mbanza Kongo, a name that today is not widely recognized globally, but in its time it stood as one of the most significant urban centers in Central Africa. European visitors didn't just pass through and guess what they saw, they documented it. One of those voices was Duarte Lopes, whose observations were later published by Filippo Pigafetta. Their descriptions weren't vague or exaggerated, they were detailed. They described a city with wide streets, organized districts, and a clear structure that separated residential areas from political and royal spaces. They spoke of a royal compound positioned on elevated ground, overseeing the rest of the city. They described thousands of inhabitants living within a system that reflected planning, authority, and coordination. This was not chaos, this was not primitive, this was urban design. And what makes this even more important is that these accounts weren't written centuries later. They were written at the time by outsiders who had no reason to invent a complex African city if it didn't exist. In fact, if anything, many early European records often underestimated what they encountered. Yet here, they couldn't ignore what was in front of them. Now pause for a moment and think about that. Because when most people picture Africa before colonialism, they don't imagine structured cities with political systems and infrastructure. That image of emptiness, of simplicity, didn't come from nowhere. It was shaped over time. And this is where things begin to shift. Because modern research doesn't contradict those early records, it supports them. Today, UNESCO officially recognizes Mbanza Kongo as a significant historical site. Archaeological studies in the region have revealed evidence of planned settlement patterns, organized living spaces, and long-term occupation. What was written centuries ago is being confirmed in the present. So now we have two layers of evidence, written documentation and physical remains, which raises a deeper question. If these cities were real, documented, and even mapped, why do so many later representations of Africa show something completely different? When you examine early European maps from the 16th century, you'll notice something interesting. Regions in Central Africa are not empty, they are labeled. Kingdoms are identified. Territories like Congo appear with recognition of political presence. But as time moves forward into the 17th and 18th centuries, many of those details begin to fade. Maps become less descriptive in some regions. Areas that were once associated with organized systems start being labeled more vaguely, sometimes even as unknown. This didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't the result of a single decision. It was the outcome of multiple forces unfolding over time.
The Kingdom of Kongo itself faced serious challenges. Internal conflicts began to weaken centralized authority. The impact of the Atlantic slave trade disrupted populations, leadership structures, and economic stability. External pressures increased, political fragmentation followed. Cities that once stood strong didn't necessarily disappear, but their power and influence changed. At the same time, European priorities were evolving. Early exploration had been driven by curiosity, trade, and documentation, but later periods became increasingly focused on control, territory, and resource extraction. And when priorities change, so does the way information is recorded. Maps are not just neutral tools, they reflect the intentions of the people creating them. What is emphasized, what is reduced, and what is left out often depends on purpose. So instead of seeing this as a sudden erasure, it becomes something more complex, a gradual shift in attention, a redirection of focus, a transformation in narrative. But here's what's important. Even as representations changed, the truth didn't completely disappear. It remained in the writings of early observers. It remained in the earth, in the ruins, in the patterns uncovered by archaeologists. It remained in oral traditions passed down through generations. And now, piece by piece, it is being brought back into the light. Because history is not just what is written once, it's what is examined, questioned, and rediscovered. And when we begin to connect these pieces, a different image of Africa before colonial domination starts to emerge, one that includes complexity, structure, innovation, and presence. The story of the Congo Empire is not about exaggeration, it's not about replacing one myth with another, it's about restoring balance to a narrative that has often been incomplete. Because the truth is, the Congo Empire was never empty, it was never undefined, it was a functioning civilization, observed, recorded, and now increasingly understood. And the more we look, the more we find. So the next time you see a map or hear a simplified version of history, ask a deeper question. What was recorded before and what changed later? Because sometimes what disappears from the page tells a story just as powerful as what remains. And if this part of history was overlooked for so long, imagine how many more stories are still waiting to be uncovered. Subscribe now for more untold African history, because this is just the beginning, and the deeper we go, the clearer the full picture becomes.